So it's no secret that the Columbus housing market is on fire, and it keeps breaking record after record. So the real question is how does someone like you figure out the best ways to maximize your real estate experience and embrace the future of this thriving city? He will show you how to stay one step ahead in the Columbus real estate game. Stay tuned. What's up, everyone? It's Ryan Miracle with Ruoff Mortgage, your favorite Columbus lender. And today we have a special guest, Brad Winter from England Volkers, right?
That's right.
New name, new brand.
New name, new brand, same results.
Same results, right. So, Brad, we're going to start where we always start. Tell us how you got into real estate and a little bit about yourself.
Well, first, thanks for having me today, Ryan.
Of course.
Really appreciate it. You guys do such great content. So when you asked me to come on, I was obviously thrilled. So a little bit about myself, how I got into real estate. When I was 22 years old, I actually bought my first investment property.
No kidding.
I had no clue what I was doing.
Okay.
But a friend of mine came to me and said, hey, we should do this. So I said, why not, right?
Yeah.
And it was actually on Dakota Avenue in Franklinton.
Nice.
Right? So I got into real estate that way, kind of caught the bug a little bit. I had a lot of friends in real estate, but it took me almost, 12 years-ish to actually get into real estate full time. And so, I had bought investment properties along the way, had friends in the real estate world, and then one day just decided I wanted to be all in.
Nice.
And so, I don't know, fall of 2019, I got licensed and been off and running ever since.
So you got licensed in 2019.
Yeah.
And then hell broke loose with COVID.
Yeah.
Right?
It was
So,
insane.
yeah.
It was brand new in the business, trying to gain clients, trying to figure out how to do this. And then boom, the lockdown or shutdown, whatever you want to call it, happened. And I was like, what did I just do?
Now, at that point, you were married to Paige, not married to Paige yet, but you were
Paige,
together.
We weren't actually.
Well, okay.
Yeah, so Paige and I were not together until later in the spring of 2020. But my wife, Paige, she's also in real estate and is business partner and all those good things. And so she was kind of the catalyst to help me, really take off. But yeah, we were not together when I first got into it.
Nice. Okay. So that being said, what was going through your mind as soon as we started shutting everything down in 2020?
Well,
as a new agent.
Yeah. So it was brand new. I had just made the commitment to leave the other job. I was kind of doing half for maybe 3 months. Right?
Okay.
I wasn't all in right away.
Dipped your toe in.
Dipped my toe in. And then I was like, okay, I had some early success. I was like, all right, I can do this. And then, everything kind of shut down. So I was like, oh my gosh, what do I, what did I just do? It was absolutely insane. But luckily, I was on a team then.
Yep.
I had a good mentor. He had a good support staff.
That's awesome.
Was able to kind of curb the learning, aspect of real estate pretty fast. And then allowed me to just do what I do best, is just marketing.
Okay.
And so I think that helped me kind of power through what was going on in the world, because everybody was on their phones.
Yeah, that's true.
Right?
We were stuck at home.
People were stuck at home.
Yeah.
And so I really found a niche here in Columbus with realtors not doing Instagram or YouTube as prevalent as other markets. So I said, I'm going to be that guy.
Yeah, there is definitely a vacuum. It's getting more saturated now, but still
For
not
sure.
to where LA or something like that.
Yeah, I think people are realizing this is what you have to do. But as you and I both know, and you remind me of this a lot, is it's just more than just posting one video.
Right.
Who is going to be here for the long term? Because it's not easy. And I think, I've been doing it for 3 years pretty consistently. So I feel like we're here for the long term, but it definitely helped me get my start in real estate.
Well,
sure.
and I gotta say, it's one of the things that I think is your superpower is it really helped you kind of launch, because the average agent churn is 3 years? And here you're not even close to reaching your potential yet, which I think is amazing.
Well, thanks for saying that. I appreciate it. Yeah, it definitely allowed me to kind of form this vacuum of business, right? And my sphere isn't here in Columbus.
Okay.
A lot of my family is not from here. I don't have a ton of college friends that moved here or anything like that. So I had to do something a little bit different. And I think I got ahead of the curve, at least here in Columbus, that allowed me to kind of stay in the game at a high level. And now people associate myself and my wife now even with Instagram. We walk into an ice cream shop, I'm like, oh, hey, I think I follow you guys.
Exactly.
We get this all the time now.
That's good.
So yeah, that's a good thing.
It means it's working.
It's working, for sure.
So with that being said, so you have had a lot of success in a very short period of time, which is amazing. Once again, kudos to you and Paige. But so one thing that is kind of hard to deny is we have an aging population. Yeah, we have a lot of young people coming to Columbus, but specifically baby boomers and the greatest generation they are moving into their final homes or moving out of their final home.
For sure.
So how are you kind of guiding people through that transition from where their last home that they live by themselves and then into kind of that next step?
Yeah, for sure. It's an interesting conversation because everybody kind of in that aging population is at different stages, or maybe like different financial stages. So, we're dealing with clients right now that they have the luxury of downsizing, getting a condo here in Columbus, but they want to live in Florida.
Okay.
Right? So, we really pride ourselves on putting together tons of checklists for clients. We outline a whole game plan, but I think the one thing that is very strategic that we did is we brought Engel and Volkers here,
Okay.
Our brokerage. And what we're able to do now is, instead of relying on calling, somebody off of Google for a referral, we can say, hey, where are you going to our clients? If you're going to, Fort Lauderdale or Arizona or something like that, we can call partners at Engel and Volkers in those areas, and we kind of like have already a really established relationship. We have
That's
a
good.
familiarity of like the type of agent that they're going to be, what the shop is like, and so we can kind of parlay all this into like a seamless timeline for our clients. And
Handoff. Nice handoff.
yeah, and one thing that you always remind me is like, how do we solve problems? And that is a big headache for people. Is like, hey, I want to, I'm downsizing here, I want to use you here, but who do I use when I'm going to Phoenix?
Yeah.
It's scary,
Yeah.
right? Especially, maybe the older generation, a little bit more guarded, a little more careful with their money.
Yeah, yeah.
So they want to ensure that they're in the right position to
Right.
succeed. So for us, we've had a lot of success just really being able to kind of tout, our referral partners, and then just making the transition here easy for them as possible.
So through your network, you were able to create that seamless handoff from pretty much anywhere in the country.
Yeah, for sure. Anywhere in the world almost, which is really cool.
Really?
Yeah. So, Engel and Volkers is was founded in Germany, and we have coverage throughout, all the Americas, Europe, and so, we can almost handle every corner of the world if need be. So I think that's really cool. Now, it has not happened to us yet, but I think it'll be pretty cool if we have a client say, hey, I'm going to Spain for the rest of my life. That'll be cool.
That'd be cool.
That'll be cool to be able to help them.
Right.
And I think a lot of places, they don't kind of have that maybe comfort level of referring people out because it can go sideways and then it's a reflection of you.
Yep.
And so I think that's one thing about being at ENV is allows us to kind of use that to our advantage now. We can kind of tout that when we're working with prospects or clients, in our local market.
That's good. So kind of flipping to the other end of the spectrum. So we just talked about the last house.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the first house.
Yeah.
So what advice or what things should someone in their early 20s or someone buying their first house, the market's tough right now. So how are you kind of coaching them?
It is tough. I mean, we just talked about what the rates are today, right?
Yeah.
A little crazy. So what's interesting right now is I think in the last few months, we have had 2 or 3 clients that are under the age of 25 that they desperately want to buy a place, which I think is awesome.
Yep.
Right? I mean, I don't think that happens a lot in today's market, right?
If they can get it, they can get it.
Right.
Right.
Right. So, but the people that we're working with, they understand kind of what's going on in Columbus. But, they're still unsure. They're still like, well, so-and-so said the market crashed. Or, my parents said I should wait until this all calms down. And, I think the biggest thing that we can do, and I know you do this with your clients, is just show the data. Where, when I started in real estate compared to now, I mean, the average home price has gone up significantly.
Exactly.
Right? Rates have changed. Movement in Columbus has changed. Investment in Columbus has changed. So I really try to sit down with them and educate them the best way I can on, what's going on locally and what that could potentially do for your future. Show them examples, right? And so that takes away a little bit of the fear. But at the end of the day, like, a client has to be comfortable doing anything.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So I think for us, our job is to just, really show them the data, show them what real estate could do for them, and then put them in a good position to make a decision. Right?
So that's a good segue. So in every market, there's always going to be opportunity.
Right.
Whether up market, down market, there's always money to be made, always opportunity. So what are you finding as a young person? What kind of advantage do you think that they have over someone who is an older home buyer?
Yeah, I think maybe right now a younger home buyer could be more resilient or more willing to take a risk.
Okay.
Right, if they're in a position to.
Makes sense.
Maybe somebody that's been through, maybe they've been through the great financial crisis. Maybe they've been through.
Or you watch their parents go.
Watch their parents do it, or whatever. Maybe they're a little bit more reserved. But I think being younger also, they have more options of what to buy.
Okay.
Right? Like, do they want to be in the city? Do they want to be in an up and coming neighborhood?
Right.
Do they want to buy their own property and renovate it and maybe refinance it down the road? Pull that move. Do they want to be in the suburbs? Do they want to be in the country? I think younger people right now that aren't tied to a specific area or school district, they have more options.
That's good.
And I think right now in the market, because of how tight inventory is, it's good to be able to be flexible. You and I, if our wives want to make a move, right? It's not as flexible.
School
It's not this big, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's this neighborhood and this school district, and that's it.
Well, I agree with you because young folks don't have bad knees yet, and stairs are not an issue. So God love you for that.
For sure.
So outside of the financial side of it, is there any disadvantage for a home buyer right now who's on the younger side?
I don't know if there's ever a disadvantage of buying real estate.
Okay. Good answer.
I think as long as you are buying right, and what I mean by that is, I don't mean by the interest rate or the payment, right? You have to be comfortable with whatever your payment is, but is the home in good shape? Is it in an area that is going to potentially have good resale value? I think if you have all these factors, and that allows them to make a fairly educated decision on if it's a good investment or not, right? Maybe if there's foundation issues, if in a rough area, whatever like that, maybe that's not the best play for them, and maybe you kind of teach them on why that's not the best play.
Okay.
But I think it's all about communication, right? Like if you're allowing a client to go out and just be like, oh yeah, that's fine, buy it, then that's not good on your end, right?
Because it could come back and bite you.
It could come back to bite us. It could also damage future relationships.
Yeah.
It could deter them from wanting to buy again, which isn't good for the economy, right? I mean, we saw the other day, I think there was a thing that I put on my Instagram, what a home sale does for an economy, right?
As far as like dollars?
As far as dollars.
Okay.
New build was like 120,000, and existing home was around, I think, like 57,000.
Yeah.
So imagine like a home buyer having such a bad experience that they don't want to do it again.
Happens.
Happens all the time.
Yeah.
But it's our job to make sure that doesn't, so they're making the best kind of investment decision for themselves.
Yeah. So you just touched on new builds.
Yeah.
So what are you seeing as far as opportunities for not necessarily new builders, but for clients who could potentially be looking at a new build? Is there an opportunity there for them to circumvent or get around the dogfight that it is of getting a contract on an existing house?
For sure. I mean, I have been telling clients, I'd say the last maybe 18 months, if you don't have the appetite to go out into the market to pay X amount over, list price, to do an appraisal gap, to possibly, waive remedy or even waive inspection sometimes.
Yep.
If you're not willing to do that, then like we should look at the new build sector, because that is a little less calm.
Okay.
Right now it has its challenges.
Yeah.
There's a premium on new construction.
So what are you saying as far as the average purchase price for new builds, at least here locally?
It's definitely over $500,000.
Okay.
And at least in kind of, again, it's all neighborhood specific, but I would say for the masses, it's going to be high fours, if not pushing fives these days.
Yeah.
Which is sometimes tough to swallow for people, but your new construction, you can kind of do what you can pick out finishes and stuff like that to a certain extent.
Right.
And what I always think is interesting about new construction is when you move in, if you move in early, they raise the prices usually of the lots and the homes as the community goes in. So then you get that equity right off the bat.
Real quick.
Yeah. I mean, my cousin, we're about to sell her house in Pickerington soon, and she's only been in it for a year, and it's crazy, what she's been able to build in that equity.
Right.
So there's pluses and minuses to both. I think it just depends on the specific buyer and what they're willing to do or willing not to do.
Right.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah. So staying on the topic of new build, so what? I used to sell new houses.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. And I always used to get stones thrown at me. Not me specifically, but the building industry. Like it's a house farm.
Yeah.
Like it's just copy and paste the houses over and over again. So you zoom out and drone shot, all the houses look the same.
All the same.
So what are you seeing as far as like not new builders, but new home construction companies that are trying to kind of shake up the cookie cutter house farm kind of thing?
I think the big box, when we call it big box, maybe the MI Homes and the Ryan Homes and those mega community builders,
Okay.
They have their cookie cutter for a reason, right? They know, what type of materials to buy. It makes more sense for them maybe from an efficiency standpoint to kind of replicate a lot of the houses, right?
Oh, yeah, totally.
So, but you're seeing, I think what you're starting to see is these more custom home builders, smaller developers, smaller builders, they're starting to build more modern style homes that don't look, so craftsman-like or so like farmhouse, because what we're seeing is an influx of people coming in from all over the country that are used to other things.
Oh, that makes sense.
Or the desire to buy other things that don't look like the normal type of home here.
Right.
Is becoming more and more prevalent. Right? There's developers in the city doing this all over Old Town East right now, Italian Village, the Quarry Trails project that Thrive did. And then you've got some smaller builders like Mulberry out in Dublin, who they are definitely building more of a modern, maybe even West Coast style home, more windows in it, a little sleeker. So, I think as more and more people move to Columbus and people want that, requesting that, we're going to see more developers and builders start to do it.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, because we are seeing, I dropped a video a couple weeks ago talking about where people are coming from to Columbus.
Fascinating.
And it's Chicago, it's New York, it's
Southern California.
LA.
Yeah.
So you're exactly right. They're probably bringing their aesthetic with them to Columbus.
I mean, I have a client that just relocated from Chicago, and it took them 2 months to just flip the script in their head of what the type of homes in Columbus are.
Oh.
Because they weren't used to it. They're used to, X, Y, and Z in the area that they lived in, and they just couldn't comprehend, like, this is what we get, or like, this is the style, like, why are these doorways so small? Like, and granted, they were looking in a very specific area, but still, they weren't used to the design, and so they had to change it. Right. And when they asked me, like, hey, do you have this? I'm like, no.
No, we're talking about existing houses.
Existing houses, yeah. You could go out and build it, but like they don't have time to do all that, so.
Yeah, fun fact, the Midwest has the oldest average home in the United States. So I can't remember what the actual percentage is, but we're like 20% older as a home age than any other place in the country.
I don't doubt it.
Yeah.
So there's not much flavor in the market.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the 1920s home still looks like a 1920s home.
For sure.
Yeah. So last question on the new build thing.
Yeah.
So who are you seeing as far as like the new builders who have your attention?
Oh, well, I mean, there's a lot. So, MI is a staple here.
Okay.
Right.
Yep.
As far as
from here, right?
Yeah, from here.
Yep.
I was actually just at the design center out at Easton this morning with a client. I think they do a fabulous job. They have great reps. They have a great design center. So I think, they're like kind of a staple. I think Thrive is making a huge push.
Okay.
Down in the city. I mean, they've got, they developed Jeffrey Park, which is still doing some stuff off of 4th Street in Italian Village. They've got the Quarry Trails project now, which if you haven't been out there, I strongly suggest just going out and walking the community. And that's an interesting place because they have, single family houses, they have condos, they have townhomes, and it's a true community, right? They have a restaurant, they have a park.
Walkable.
It's all walkable, right?
It's amazing.
And so I think people desire that too. Certain people desire that.
Right.
And then you've got, your standard Bob Webbs and your Roman Ellen Hughes, and like I said, the Mulberry, who's a smaller, developer out in Dublin. They have some really incredible product out there. So I'm really excited to see some of the smaller builders kind of take off. 3 Pillars been booming here lately with Evans Farms and a couple other communities that they opened up. So, and they make a more of a unique product. So I think that'll happen. But one thing is for sure, we don't have enough houses.
That's for damn sure.
That's for sure, right?
Yeah,
and so I really would like to see a lot of the smaller builders start to step up, or hopefully the demand will be there to kind of make them step up and start building some of these unique properties that they are capable of doing.
Do you see any tiny homes coming into town?
It's interesting. I don't know. I mean, I have seen some stuff on TikTok. That's my guilty pleasure, Some places down in Texas where they're having these tiny home communities.
Right.
Right? It's like an efficiency, like 350, 400 square feet, and they're making these like almost like tiny towns. What do you think? I don't know.
I think it has a definite place in the market. So like when I first got into new builds, we were, the builder that I worked at doesn't exist anymore. It's Dominion Homes.
Yeah.
But that being said, their starting price point was like $65,000. Which is amazing, but there was like almost no money to be made on those homes, but they were building them so they could build a customer base. Anyway, so around 2008 when all that stuff happened, Hurricane Katrina happened at the same time. So the building industry was just rocked up here.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah.
So
Crazy.
all the contractors left to Florida in
Sure.
the hurricane areas to go do the insurance thing.
Yep.
Well, they never came back.
Yeah.
So
So shortage.
tons of labor shortages. So
Yeah.
that kind of left the builders here who were building those smaller price points. A lot of builders they quit.
Yeah.
Because there was just no money to be made anymore. They're actually losing money on those homes. So they just upped their price point. And I think at that point, the price point jumped from their lowest was like $65,000. It jumped up to like $350 within a month.
It's crazy.
Because they cut out a whole product line.
Yeah.
But I would like the idea of the tiny home because it's going to allow first-time home buyers, a single dude who doesn't care, could
Right.
live in a trailer or a cave and he'd be completely happy in a
Right,
tiny home. So
for sure.
it would serve a purpose for sure.
I think so. It'll be interesting where you would put that, though.
Yeah.
You know, where's land? Where's a community that would embrace that, do that? I'm gonna be a little, I guess, interested to see if like the downtown market steps up with maybe condos, and not necessarily luxury condos, but condos maybe, you know, in Bridge Park. I think there's some 1-bed, 1-bath out there that they did at Crawford Hoeing.
Yep.
Is doing that are maybe starting to high 300s.
Okay.
Right, and not saying that's say affordable, but it's affordable more than, you know, a $700,000 condo or a townhome. So maybe some of that variation could come in the market because we don't have a lot of places building condos.
Right.
You know, and I think downtown specifically, it's a lot of old buildings and the layouts
yeah.
are always goofy and they have wild HOAs and everything. So I think if we could put some of that stuff down there, I think that'll help attract even more younger people to downtown.
Agreed.
But yeah, well, I mean, we'll see. It'll be interesting. We definitely need the municipalities to kind of unleash, you know, the builders and let them
I
go.
agree.
You know,
I
like
agree.
let them go.
I know you're from New Albany, but like New Albany has really high standards for you got to have so much brick on the house, got to be so
yeah,
far
for
back,
sure.
the lots is wide. So you're exactly right.
Yeah.
They just got to let that stuff go. We need more houses, period.
Period. I mean, with the Intel stuff that's happening,
Where we got to put people.
we're gonna put them right. And
Right.
so it's an interesting thing that there was a guy, I forget his name, he was on Columbus Underground the other day talking about, you know, what's going on in Columbus, but also talking about that. And
That was a good article, by the way.
it was a great article.
Yeah.
But I thought what was interesting is like they've done this study over 2 years, trying to figure out like how to address affordable housing, and nothing's really come of it, you know. And so they're trying to circle back to figure out like what's the true plan.
Right.
I don't think anybody has an answer, but whoever comes up with the answer, can make a lot of money.
Right. Well, I do think that we're going to have a correction as far as commercial real estate. So like the Chase building,
Yeah.
like last week they announced that they're going to turn that into apartment complexes.
Yep.
So like the Chase building's a high rise, so it's going to be kind of like a New York style
Right.
high rise apartment complex. So I think we would need to see more of that
For sure.
because there's not many people going back to work in office buildings.
Yeah. I mean, you're going to start to, I think, well, you're already seeing it. I've been, commercial real estate is I would say if it's not hurting now, it's projected to start hurting.
Yeah.
And I think you're going to see a lot of this office space downtown convert, right? Because we need it. We need places for people to live, different, you know, age ranges, but also price points as well. So it'll be interesting to see next couple of years, like what the downtown scene looks like in those office buildings.
Right.
And also maybe that's a good thing because a lot of the businesses down there don't survive because, you know, lately with COVID and everything that happened, everybody kind of left the city in a way. So if you bring them all back, like more of the business can, you know, survive a lot longer. They could bring new businesses in, and it could have a great effect on the economy.
So to that point, if someone wanted to get into the investing game, say like downtown with
Yeah.
an Airbnb or something like that, is Columbus the right market for something like an Airbnb?
I think you have to be careful. So I think you have a great product, and I'm in this wonderful group chat right now with a bunch of investors and realtors, right?
Okay.
And it was started because we started playing pickleball on Saturday mornings. All right, it's my guilty pleasure, I guess. Right,
That's how the best
Another
things start.
Right, it started off 4 of us started playing, and then the group got to 12, right? And every person in the group does something real estate related, whether it's a realtor, a wholesaler, an investor, an electrician, a GC, whatever it is. And so what's interesting is hearing like what everybody does, and then like what their opinions are. And a good buddy of mine who owns, I think he said he owns 4 or 5 Airbnbs right now, is crushing it. And some of the other guys, they're not crushing it, and so they're talking about why. And I think if you do an Airbnb, it's all about a couple things: location and experience, right? So
What do you mean by experience?
when you walk into a house with an Airbnb, does it have something unique about it? Whether it's a really cool backyard, does it have a game room? Does it have wild decor? I mean, if you follow something on, you know, social media, Instagram related with Airbnbs, some of these places are designed beautifully. So it has this lasting impression on people.
Okay.
They'll they'll repost, stuff on their social media. They'll leave you incredible reviews. It's great marketing. So again, I think right now everything is about an experience. When somebody works with you, they want to have a great experience.
Of course.
When people work with me, it's no different with an Airbnb. So I think if you do that, you will succeed. And you got to be in a great location too. Walkable. Italian Village, Victorian Village, Short North area, something like that.
So you
right?
can't be in the stick somewhere.
Can't. I mean, unless you're in like Hocking Hills, which is a destination.
Yes.
Right? But like, something in, I don't know, remote POW is probably not going to be as fruitful as something, in Victorian Village where you can walk everywhere, you can come in for events, the game, et cetera, et cetera.
So the one question that I've always wondered, so I've never stayed in an Airbnb, so I'm a little bit ignorant, but so the one question I've had is where do these people come from? Do they come from other cities? Do they come from you're just going a block away and you just need to get away from your wife? Or who are the people that are renting Airbnbs typically?
Yeah, so I think it's a vast array of people, but you have to think about what Columbus is doing we have a ton of conventions at the convention center, right? We have some major corporations, so people are coming in to work for a week or maybe for 2 or 3 days and they don't want to stay at a hotel, right? Because maybe
that's a good point.
Some people don't like the hotel,
right.
So they want something more unique. It could be a little bit more affordable than hotels right now as well. You get people coming in for the universities, for all the events, for football games, graduation. Yeah. You have all these things. Weddings, so you have
that makes sense.
You have an array of people, but again, we're not a huge destination city as far as vacation, like a Florida or Carolinas or something like that. And so that's why you have to do something so unique.
Right.
I have a client, knock on wood, we're getting ready to close on a property in Victorian Village, and it is the most unique property I think in Victorian Village.
How so?
It's incredibly modern.
Really?
Right?
Which is like a sore thumb.
It's a sore thumb, right? Like when I sent it to him, I said, "Here's your unicorn. You need to buy this."
Right.
Right. And he was like, "We're gonna do it."
That's amazing.
Because you walk into this place and it's not like a traditional place down there. And now he's got to do the decor and do all that stuff, but the bones of it sells itself. So I think if you're gonna do Airbnb, you just got to do your homework on what really works and make sure you know your numbers because you got your cleaning fees, you got your maintenance costs. You should have some sort of customer success person on standby that makes sure everything's set up correctly. It's a true business.
Right.
It's not as easy.
Hustle.
Yeah, right. And a lot of people get into it and they think it's going to be this side hustle and then they get themselves in trouble.
Right.
Yeah.
So is that something, if I wanted to have you help me buy an Airbnb, is that something you kind of hold my hand and walk me through the process?
Yeah, and you know what? I've learned a lot over the last year on how to help clients do that, right? Helping them run pro formas, helping them, there's a software out there called AirDNA that will show, what your daily average could be in a certain area based on X criteria. Asking the proper questions if it's already an Airbnb in use sometimes, right? Okay. They're selling it, why are they selling it? Look at the P&L. So yeah, I think it's something that if you're a realtor, you can definitely help your clients with. You just need to be careful not to overpromise.
Don't just sell the house.
Just don't sell the house. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
Serve the client first. Let them make the decision.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So with Honda, Intel, I know you touched on Intel, and there's a lot going on. And you said, once again, New Albany guy over here. So with all these things, Google, Amazon, what do you think, projecting out 10 years, what do you think Columbus is going to look like in 10 years?
I get this question a lot, and obviously 10 years, anything can happen.
Oh, yeah.
Right? The world's a wild place right now. And so, who knows what can truly happen, but I think Columbus in 10 years, we're not going to be considered this flyover city anymore. Right. I really believe we are going to be a destination for people to come as far as having incredible job opportunity. We already have great universities. Right now, we're still an affordable city compared to a lot of mega cities or mid-mega cities out there. We are still very affordable. So I could see us being like a Charlotte, Nashville, Austin, something like that, a vibe like that, where more companies are going to be investing in us. We're going to have more people moving here. Now we have to do the right things to attract that.
Agreed.
Right? We have to have the local governments allow us to build more and and not get crazy with taxes and all those things, which that's a sore subject right now. What's coming with the reassessments? But I think if we can steadfast on what's going on and just be who we are, I think the future is incredibly bright here, and we're excited about it. I mean, we're investing here, and you know, and partnering with the right people and everything to ensure that we're right there with the growth.
So, last question. All right, so I know this is going to sound loaded, but buy now or wait and see what happens in the future. How would you, same thing goes for sellers too.
Yeah.
So let's stick with the buyers first.
Yep.
How would you advise a buyer who is trying to contemplate whether they should just pull the trigger now or wait a year, 2 years?
Yep. So great question. And a lot of people ask me this when we're talking about working together, right? Because when we work together, I like to be interviewed. I like to interview them because we got to make sure it's a good fit.
Right.
So my stance is if you have a good job, if you have money in the bank, if you can afford to do it, buy now.
Okay.
Right? I don't think anybody who's ever bought real estate has probably looked back and been like, that was a terrible decision. You know, unless the great financial crisis, obviously that was an anomaly, but let's just say the overall kind of scope of buying real estate.
Yes.
More than likely, people have always thought it was served them well, right? So if you have the ability to do it, I would say do it. Because I think as time goes on in the next year, it's only going to get harder. More people are going to move here. There's more investments coming in here. Inventory seems to not be getting better. So even if rates are at 8%, 9%, the housing prices are probably not going to dip off substantially.
I would agree with that.
Right? They may come down, but I don't think you're going to see some big 20, 25% haul.
Well, I mean, even during 2008, like Florida, New York, LA, Texas, those are the places that took a huge hit because they had a huge vacation and rental market. Houses being sold there. So we don't really have that here. So it was a lot of single family owner occupied.
Yeah. And so that's my advice, people. Now, if you are a fringe buyer, if you're not sure, if you're worried about a job, if you're going to spend every last dime you have to get in the house, you know, that might not be the wise choice for you, but I let you decide that. Right? Because ultimately it's your money. But I'm of the belief if you can get in, get in. Right? Now, if you're a seller, I think it all depends on what you're trying to do. If somebody died, there's a divorce, medical something, like, then you probably have to sell, right? Like you're kind of being forced to.
No one really wants to sell their house like ever. It's painful.
It's painful. It's not. It's you know, when you sell a house, you're almost getting rid of memories and all these things that go in with the selling of the property. Now, if you are a downsizer, obviously, and you're looking to capitalize, right, and you have a lot of money to play with buying something else, or maybe you're going to rent for a while, or go live with your daughter or something, then heck yeah, take advantage of it, right? Because you're getting top dollar.
Right.
Talked to a couple in our neighborhood who they have 4 children, 2 sets of twins. In our neighborhood, they've been there for quite a while, and they were thinking about making a move. But what they can make on their house and what they need to buy to stay in New Albany. Now this is New Albany. And go in a higher square footage home, it doesn't make any sense for them because of where that maybe that 4,000 square foot home is now, right? And it's above $1 million. Right? And it might be above 1.5, depending on which neighborhood in New Albany that you're in. And so when they factor in all that, they're like, you know what? Like, we'll just tough it out. Now that might not be easy with 2 sets of twins. They're going, one set's going to be a teenager, the other one's close to it, right? So there's a lot going on, but they're like, we're going to figure out how to make it work in our house. So those people, it might not make sense for them, or somebody like me who's locked in at 3.25.
Yeah, it's gonna be painful to let go of that interest rate.
That's gonna be painful. So unless I have to make a move, or if I win the lottery and it doesn't matter, then fine, I'll do it. But more than likely, people in our positions probably not gonna make a move.
Yeah, I'm not going anywhere.
Doesn't make sense.
So if someone wanted to connect with you, and by the way, you shared a ton of great insights, so thank you. So if someone wanted to connect with you, what's the best way for them to do so? Instagram is the best way as far as online. You can reach me at @BradWinter_, or you can shoot me a text or an email. What's your cell phone number? Cell phone number is 614-935-0545, and my email is brad.winter@evrealestate.com. EV. Cool. Well, once again, thank you, Brad. I appreciate your insights. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Of course. Yeah. So if you are looking to buy or sell in the next coming months, Brad and I would love to be your real estate resource of choice. Let's do it. So if that is you, make sure to, I always get this wrong, watch this video right here. And if nothing else, we'll see you guys next time. And drop your comments and your questions in the comments below, and we'll have Brad circle back with them. Appreciate you guys, and I'll catch you guys again on the next one.